Today we're putting the two biggest names in home gyms up against each other as we compare their flagship products, Rogue's Monster Power Rack versus the Rep PR-5000, so we can figure out which is the right rack for you. I've had both of these in my home gym for a long time now, and I've learned a lot about them as I've pushed the limits of what you can do with them and what can be attached to them. This used to be an easier decision with Rogue dominating the market, but Rep's unique offerings have exploded recently, and as we'll see in this video, they're not slowing down. Of course, Rogue does have its own exclusives and a lot of reasons you pick them, which we'll talk about as well. But the first thing you have to answer is, why would you want a 3x3 rack with 1-inch holes in hardware? And the answer is simple. They look cool. Listen, I get it. Nobody needs a 3x3 rack, but if you keep saying that in the comments, well, my wife reads those and you're gonna get me into trouble. In reality, 3x3 represents the biggest and best companies offer. These racks feature a build quality and attention to detail you won't find elsewhere. Things like laser cut height markings at each hole, more finish options, massive logos nobody wants or needs, UHMW on all attachments, and it's actually those attachments that can be the hardest part about selecting between these, because it's the rack's ecosystems that may be your biggest deciding factor. Rogue, for example, tends to support their Monster line better than the Lite, and each company has its own exclusives that won't fit on the other. So if you want Rogue's rack-mounted low-row slinger combo, drop-in Rhino, or if you need to take your aggression out when your wife cuts off your spending, their striking pad, well, for any of those, you'd have to go with Rogue. Rep, though, does seem to support their 5/8, the PR-4000, and 1-inch, the PR-5000 line similarly. So you can get an Ares, Athena, and really most things on either, though their Omni rack is beginning to fall behind a little bit. Besides that, 1-inch racks feature better made attachments. So for example, here's Rogue's Monster Lite sandwich J-cups and their Monsters. But of course, these are gonna come with a much higher price tag. That doesn't mean 1-inch racks are the end-all be-all. They don't have west side hole spacing because these racks' holes are all equally spaced every 2 inches. Now, that might not matter to some, but I've never been one to turn down access to more holes. A big appeal of these 1-inch racks is the equal hole spacing on all 4 sides, which is something 5/8-inch racks lacked until Rep recently changed over the PR-4000 to have equal 4-way hole spacing, which is technically another reason to consider 5/8 and Rep, though Bell's with their Hydra rack and its true 3-inch by 3-inch structure and attachments does counter that a little, since you've got another company making accessories that are directly compatible with the Monster Lite. But that comparison is a future video, so subscribe for that one. I got off on a little tangent there. The appeal of equal hole spacing is it gives complete freedom in what you do with your rack because it makes them modular, and this right here is a good example of what can be done. So do we need them? No, but the Power Rack is kind of like, it's like the vagina of a home gym. It's where everyone comes to have a good time. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that one and get demonetized again, which makes this a great time to mention our Patreon, because imagine what I could say if I didn't have to worry about ad revenue. If you want the best offered and the most options, these are it. And since racks are the centerpieces of most home gyms, it's not a place you want to feel limited. Of course, the drawback to that is price. As I mentioned, attachments for these racks are more expensive versus their 5/8-inch counterparts. But there's also a difference in price between Rep's and Rogue's racks. Much of that comes from the fact that Rep is imported and Rogue is made here in the US, but there's other factors at play here as well. I built these out in a ton of configurations, and Rogue is always more expensive, but depending on how you build your rack, that price difference might not be as extreme as you'd think. For example, my base 6-post setups are just under $900 a part, but when you get to a 30-inch 4-post build, you're talking about less than a $100 difference. Where that price difference really adds up is with their attachments, and this is where that quality difference can show as well. Many of Rep's attachments are really well done, like their spotter arms and their drop safeties, which are much less expensive than Rogue's, and others are good quality and will still save you a lot of money, like their sandwich J-cups, but it's not hard to see the quality difference here. Now, I'm not saying they all have to be over the top like Rogue, but there are accessories where Rep doesn't really compete as well. Their straps are way too loose, but then again, I hate adjusting Rogues with how they're locked in and on. Rep's Globe pull-up bar kind of looks like Titan made it, and their landmine is well priced, but generic in design and okay at best in quality. And the mounting pin, have you seen my wife? She trips over blades of grass, and we're supposed to strap this to our rack? Don't get me wrong, you'll save a small fortune with their stuff, and some of this is nitpicking, but a few of these don't really give me the feeling that they match the quality of what's supposed to be the pinnacle of their racks. That being said, they are reworking, upgrading, and expanding their lineup at an incredible rate. So the real question might be, whose ecosystem do you want to commit to? When you buy a rack, you're in some ways limiting what can go on it depending who makes it. Now, to some that might not matter. They like it vanilla, but others enjoy a little experimenting and finding out what makes them happiest when filling those holes. Technically, there's a lot more to it than what I'm about to say, but you can always check out our Power Rack Buyer's Guide for a more detailed look into building a rack. Years ago, if money weren't a factor, I'd have chosen Rogue because their library of attachments dwarfed Rep's, but as of late, it's a game Rep is clearly making huge gains in, with the Ares, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment we've got, the Athena, selectorized version of their lat low. They're working on a mass storage system, the offset J-cups, and they've been working out the kinks in the utility bench with a removable pad, which there's no possible way it's not cheaper than Rogue's. And just in general, they've pushed out a ton more products than Rogue lately, but Rogue was already way ahead, and I'd never count them out if only because of their buying power, because if you can't beat them, buy them. They bought Go Strong, are expanding their manufacturing of Kabuki products, and I'm sure are feeling some pressure. So while they've lagged behind a bit, it's not like they're sitting back. I just think they're holding their cards close. Now, there's more to an ecosystem than who makes what. Some attachments and components can fit between manufacturers, which is something we covered in our Home Gym Secrets video. But as a generalization, the metric versus custom measurement differences can cause problems with holes not aligning or attachments being too loose or too tight between racks, which is something you'll want to consider when you choose your rack and its ecosystem. Another example is that Rogue's 3x3 racks are 2 inches wider than Rep's, which affects how well different specialty bars will fit if they do it all, and you'll have to be more careful on your walkout. I'm not entirely sure that's a problem for everyone, but I'm pretty sure my subs aren't complaining when I show this clip every time I talk about it. Of course, there is an easy solution to walkouts. Just use my affiliate links and buy both racks. That way you can be like Winnie and I. She gets the pretty side of the gym with the fancy build out, and I have my gray Rogue rack that matches my personality. But that actually might be my biggest home gym hack. Give your wife all the good stuff and she'll be less likely to question your compulsive purchases. Now, there are other differences between the racks that matter. Rep offers a shorter solution for you basement dwellers, though Rogue does have taller options if you need a few more inches, and they also have more rack configurations like their folding or collegiate. But you can go pretty crazy building out any well-established 3x3 system. They also have a lot more finish options. I think it's something like 14:6. Of course, there's the keyholes on the Monster rack, which are a little bit underutilized by Rogue with their attachments, but the fact that they're 5/8 means they at least make the racks a little more versatile without needing adapters. Rogue's flush-mounted top cross members not only look great, but we all know every inch counts, and nobody's complaining when you can get a little deeper, like in your overhead press. As to which is the best rack, honestly, you can't go wrong with either, and it really depends what you value and your wants and needs, because you're not going to get a better workout on one versus the other, and they're both going to last forever. You want American-made quality that belongs in a commercial gym? I've loved my Monster rack ever since I got over my original ordering issues, and that's another thing Rogue tends to deliver on. Their service typically comes through when there's an issue. If you're looking for some cost savings and really good home gym quality, then it's hard to ignore Rep and the innovations they've been pushing, but they're also very good at listening to the community and creating products for people like us. If you're still on the fence as to which to get after watching this, then you can check out our PR-5000 and Rogue Monster reviews, which are maybe over here. Just ignore angsty teenage me in the monster video. They eventually made it right. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments and give us a like to help boost my ego. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.